Hello there and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools, and this is step 5 and the penultimate video in this date checker working with dates series. So once again, let's jump into the action and let's do this. So this is where we left off in step 4 of this training series. And a link to this file can be found in the description if you wish to use it instead of your own file to follow this video. And also you can find a link to the step 4 video in this description as well. Now what I've done is I've added these activities into this file because we'll be needing them for this video. And one thing about, I just wanted one tip, is when you're copying and pasting data into any type of templates, always advise your users to copy and paste values only. And if you're using Office 365, you can copy something and then if you hold the Shift, Control and press the V key, is a shortcut for pasting values only in Office 365. So that being said, we've done all our reset. We now need to create the calendar to pull this data through in a context sensitive or contextual calendar with all the activities. So first of all, I'm going to go to review. I'm going to take off the protect workbook, so that's the structure, and this then allows us to add sheets and also to unhide sheets as well. So I'm going to click the plus sign here, and the first thing we need to do is we need to bring the activity data together. So I'm going to rename this sheet as date checker activity support and hit return. And then what I want to pull through from here are these activities from each of these sections. Yeah. So the way that I'm going to do that, I want the I'm going to want the ID number. So I'm going to do hash. I'm then going to want the date of the activity, and then I'm going to want the activity itself. Yeah. Oh, I can't type. There you go. Then what I want to do, because this is what we'll pull through eventually into our calendar, is I want to concatenate the ID and the activity together. So I'm going to do ID and activity just as a reference, their title. And let's just highlight these. So home, I'm going to use that style there, make them green. And there you go. Now, so what I'm going to use is the VSTACK function formula. So I'm going to go equals VSTACK. My first array is going to be this range here. I'm then going to do comma. My next range, so basically VSTACK is going to vertically stack these ranges. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to do comma again. I'm going to select this range. Do comma, and then finally the final section is this section, and then I'm going to close the bracket and hit return. So now I've pulled that information together. Let me just change this column B to be a date format. So I'm going to select column B and do short date. So we've got the dates there. Now let's make these a little bit wider. So eventually I don't want the long date to be here, but first I need to filter out these zeros. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go into VSTACK. I'm going to add the let. So I'm going to do let open bracket. I'm going to do alt return. And let's expand this out so you can see what I'm doing. Let's move this out the way like so. So I'm going to assign this VSTACK, this formula, to a name called my data, and do comma. And I'm going to do a comma at the end of that, the VSTACK formula, and do alt return. And then what I want to do is do a filter. So I'm going to do filter. I'm going to filter my data. And again, the let function is great. It means I don't have to keep retyping this formula here. I'm going to do comma, and I'm going to do choose cols. And then it's my data again. So I'm going to do that drop down, and it's where conf4, close that bracket where it does not equal 0. Yeah, and then I'm going to do a comma and just do return a blank if nothing's found. And do close the bracket on that filter. I'm going to do alt return. I'm going to close the bracket on the let function, and let's just see what that does. Perfect. Now I want to get rid of the long data. So again, I'm going to select this, and now I'm going to assign this to another name as well. I'm going to call that my data 2 and do comma. And what I'm going to do is do a comma there and do alt return, and then what I'm going to do is do choose cols. My array is going to be the my data 2, the filtered. Select that. And then the columns that I want to return is column 1, 2, but not 3, and column 4. So I'm going to go 1, 2. I don't want 3. I'm going to do 4. So I'll skip 3, close the bracket. Yeah. And I'm going to hit return. So now we've got a filtered view with just the ID, the date, and the activity itself. Now, just in case there is an error here, for whatever reason, I'm just going to make sure I'm going to wrap this choose col in an error, if error function. So I'm going to do if error, and then basically if there is an error on that, I'm just going to return blank, and then close the bracket on that and hit return. So that done, if we go back to our date checker, we've got a maximum of 80 activities that we can capture. So it goes up to 80, yeah? So bear that in mind. So I now want to concatenate, if there's something here, I want to concatenate the ID and the activity into this column. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to do equals if A2 does not equal blank, then I'm going to do a concat. So I'm going to use the concat function. The first piece of text is going to be the ID. I'm then going to do comma. I'm then going to do a colon and a space in quotation marks. I'm then going to do another comma and select the activity here. And then I'm going to close the bracket on the concat. And obviously if it is blank, I'm just going to return a blank in that cell and hit return. And there you go. So remember I said we go up to 80 activities in the date checker. So that's the max. So plus the header, that's 81. So I need to copy this formula all the way down to row 81. So I'm going to hold down my shift key, do the page down, do the page down again, and then using the arrow key, go to row 81. I'm then going to do Control D to copy that formula down. And there you go. So there's that formula there now. Now what I want to do is I want to turn this into a name range. So again, I can use it as an array through that name range. So I'm going to select this. So select these cells. I'm then going to type here are activities, like so, and then hit return. So I've now created that name range. I'm then going to go to the formulas ribbon, go to the name manager, and there's that are activities that I've created. And all I'm going to do is just extend it to row 81, because obviously that's the max that it can go to. And then I'm going to hit return and close. So that name range now goes all the way down to row 81. So now what I want to do is let's when a date in the calendar matches this date, we want to pull through the relevant activities. So let's just do a test and build that formula. And let me put a date in here. I'm going to do 01/08/24. So that's the 1st of August. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to do equals a filter. The filter is going to be on that name range. So the array is going to be R, and there's the R activities. I'm going to select it. And then as far as the include is concerned, I'm going to do choose cols again. The array is going to be R activities again. And what I'm looking at is where column 2 of this equals that date there, that reference date there. So I'm going to do 2 for column 2, close the bracket on choose cols, and then do equals G1 there, that date there. And again, if nothing's found, I'm just going to do return a blank, and I'm going to close that bracket like so. So it's pulled all the columns through, and I only want the this column here, the ID and activity. So again, I'm going to use the choose cols. So choose cols. That's my array. I'm going to do comma, and I just want to return 4. Then I'm going to close the bracket and hit return. Wonderful. So let's choose the 6th of August there. So let's change that to the 6th of August, hit return, and it's brought those through. Now, the problem we've got is that it's now putting it into multiple rows here. So for example, in our calendar, we're going to have a date in here. We need to pull it all through into a single cell. So if I put, for example, it's going to cause a spill range. So the way that I'm going to overcome that is I'm just going to click the home ribbon. I'm going to say wrap text. I'm going to put it in the middle and tell it to align it at the top like so, right? I'm then going to change this, wrap this in a array to text function, and then close the bracket on that. Now what it's doing is if we just expand that, we can see we've now got it's now wrapping that text, and it's creating it in a single cell. So we've got that ID2, the activity, and then comma that separates it. And then we've got the next activity, which is 3, module 1 start. So that works. And the only thing that we need to do here then is we just need to go, if nothing is found or there's an error, it will create an error on the array to text. So I'm going to wrap that in a if error. Again, just return a blank cell and hit return. So let's create our calendar and let's start building it now. So that works. Don't need that there anymore. I'm going to delete that, and we'll use this as our starting point. So I'm going to add another sheet, and I'm going to call this, I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call it date checker selected month, like so. And the first thing I'm going to do here, let me just shrink that down because I don't need it to be that wide at the moment. So first of all, I need the start. So I need to tell the calendar the start date. And I'm going to use equals the date function. And that's going to be simply, I need to, in fact, escape that because I need to unhide this date checker support sheet where that information is. So let's unhide that. And I'm just going to move that to there for now. So I'm going to do equals date. So this is the selected month. So date checker support. So date, I want the year. Let's move that out of the way. So I want B2. I'm going to do F4 to make that absolute. I'm going to do comma. I then want the month. I'm going to make F4 to make that absolute, and then I want the first of the month, and close that bracket and hit return. Wonderful. Now here's a trick. If you want to find the end of any month, if I just do finish here, if I do equals end of month function, so the start date is going to be, and actually this could be any date within the month. I'm going to do comma, do 0 months. If I did 1, it would be the end of the following month. So I'm going to do 0 because I don't want to go forward. And if I do return, let's change that to a date. It will return for us dynamically what is the last day of that month. Wonderful. Right, just a little trick I thought I'd show you. So let's now, I'm going to build our calendar. So again, 1 days of the week, do that to the Sunday. Make it green style. I'm going to make it center aligned, and I'm going to make it 14 and bold. I'm also going to make these columns a little wider. So I'm going to highlight the columns and do right click and do column width, and I'm going to make them 24 like so, and click OK, just to make them wider. So I'm going to need a date, and then I'm going to need my activity there, So a date, then activity and date. So I'm going to need copy. So I need, let's just do this as a guide for myself. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I want 6 of those. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excellent. Right. So that's what I want. Now, as far as this is concerned, this is where I need to get the date. So I'm going to do equals. So it's going to be this date here plus sequence. I don't need any rows. I just want 7 columns. Yeah. And then I'm going to minus, because this is the selected month. So on the date checker support, I'm going to minus this cell here. I'm going to do F4 to make it absolute, and I'm going to hit return. Let's make these again all a date so we can see what we're working with. So there we go. So let me just go to date checker support. I'm going to change this to the 1st of August here, just so it'll pull the activities through. And again, if I go to selected month, there we go. So 1st of August starts on a Thursday. So again, I need to do the check where I'm going to copy that and do Control copy. And this is where I am going to do, on this, I'm going to do if the month of this equals, right, if that equals the month of this cell here, then do the calculation. Otherwise, make it blank and then close the bracket and hit return. And there you go. Now the formula for this row here is going to be slightly different because we want to start it from here. So that's going to be equals that cell plus sequence in 1 row, 7 columns. I don't need to do anything as far as the checking for the start of the date, because we're directly referencing following on from that cell there. So I'm going to hit return, and again let's just change these to a date, like so. So what we've got now is I need to do the same check against this one to make sure that again it's the same month, and if it's not, then blank it out, and that's more applicable towards the end of the month. But let's just, because I want to copy and paste it down, let's do it for this. So I'm going to copy this formula, control copy, and again I'm going to do another if statement and do if month that, yeah, equals month that, yeah, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make the row absolute, because I want to copy it down. But no, that needs to be absolute. So that, and I'm going to do F4 to make that absolute. Close that bracket. If it's fine, then do the formula. Yeah. Otherwise, return blank. Then close that bracket. Hit return. Too many arguments, it's saying. So what have I done there? Let's just do that again. If, let's do month. So it could be a month that formula, close the bracket. Oh, that's why I didn't put a close bracket. So if month that equals month, that value there, function 4 to make that absolute, because I want to copy it down, then do the formula, otherwise return a blank, and that should be fine now. Yeah, so I missed that bracket off there, and I'm going to hit return, and there you go. So that now works. The only other thing I need to check for is to make sure that there's a value in there. So again, I'm just going to do if that cell does not equal a blank, then do this, otherwise again, just return a blank cell. I'm going to hit return. So now I should be able to take that and do control copy, paste it there, paste it there, paste it there, and finally paste it there. And then if I just take this, make that, in fact, no, if I escape that for a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that, I'm going to do control 1, number. We just want it, we don't want the full date, we just want the day there. So I'm just going to make that DD for the day and do OK. And what I'm going to do is take that there, press F4 just to repeat what I just did there to there. Again, F4, F4, the function 4 key, so that's a great shortcut there. And then F4 just to repeat that last action I did. So that's done. I then want to make these, so in fact I don't need that there anymore. Just going to get rid of that for a second. So this now I'm just going to, let's highlight, I'm holding down the control key, I'm just highlighting all these now. Yeah, and I'm just going to make them all middle. I'm going to make them 14, and I want them to have a grey fill as well, like so. Wonderful. And then I'm just going to make this, so what height have I got here? So I'm going to right click on here and do row heights. Let's make that 19 and do OK. I'm going to select these. So again, hold down the control key, select these rows. I'm going to press F4 just to make them all the same row height. And this row here, let's right click on it and let's make that row height 87. And again, I'm just going to select these. And then press F4 to repeat it. There you go. And again, I want these to be, let's just select them all. Holding down the control key when I'm selecting them. And I want them to wrap, I want them to the middle, and let's do them to the top as well, like so. Great. So now we've got the base of our calendar there. Is I'm just going to hold it all, highlight it all again, and let's just put the borders on there. So I'm going to do the drop down, do more borders. I'm going to choose that line there. Let's make it that green there, do outline and the inside and do OK. Wonderful. So let's take this now, this formula here, let's copy it. So I'm going to do Control Copy and Escape. I'm going to go to my selected month, and in this cell I'm just going to paste that in. Now I should get an error. Do return. And the reason being is there's nothing there. So all I'm going to do is just add an if that cell does not equal a blank, then do the formula, otherwise just return a blank, like so. I'm going to hit return, and there you go. I'm then going to take that and I'm going to do Control Copy, select all these cells here and do Control V. I'm then going to do Control Z. You know what I didn't do? Escape that. Is I didn't point this to this cell here. So I just need to take this and just point it there. And there you go. Wonderful. That's better. Now if I do Control Copy, it will work. And do Control V. Boom. Do Control V. As you can see, it's starting to pull through those activities now. And do Control V. Control V. Control V. And finally, the last row, do Control V. Okay. So let's just make these weekends clear. So I'm going to highlight those. And let's do the fill. Make them a light blue. And again, I'm just going to Control key. F4, boom. So now I want to pull through the header. So all I'm going to do is on the date checker support, I'm just going to take this, I'm going to do Control Copy, do Control V. It's telling me I've got some circular reference. I'm going to ignore that. So what I'm going to do is on this is if I just take the first one in there, the first part of that formula, and then go back to date checker support and select B2, which is the year, and do F4. I'm then going to take the first part of that there, so in the apostrophe, date checker support apostrophe exclamation mark. I'm going to Control Copy that. And then I'm going to put it in front of here. So I'm just making it very specific and pointing it towards the date checker support sheet. I'm going to do Control V there. I'm going to do Control V there, and then here as well. Just before that $sign, $B, I'm going to do Control V. And then finally here, I'm just going to paste that and hit return. And then it's fine. Wonderful. So that now works. I've got my selected month there. So what we need to do now is we need to put that conditional formatting. So what's today's date? and what's the selected date and what's the adjustment date. So let's do that conditional formatting. And the way that I'm going to do that is I'm just going to highlight. So let's do the date rows first. So I'm going to hold down my control key while I select them. There's that final row. Now, if I just move it up. So first of all, I'm doing the check against B4. So I'm going to do, and again, remember it, because I'm not going to make it absolute, it will be relative. So I'm going to do conditional formatting, new rule. I'm going to use formula to determine which cells to format. And then I'm going to do equals if B4 equals today's date. So I'm going to use the today function. Open and close bracket. So if it does, it's true. So we're going to do some formatting. Otherwise false and do nothing. So the format that we're going to apply where this is true is we are going to make it bold, the font bold. We're going to make it the color white. The border, using this line here, we're going to make it yellow, and I'm going to click the outline. And then finally the fill will be this green here, and click OK. And then going to click OK again. Now, because we use the control key, it tends to make it a little bit weird. So watch, I'm going to do conditional formatting, manage rules, and you'll see it's done something weird to that cell there. So I'm just going to select it and do edit rule. And then I'm going to try and select this here. So I'm just going to highlight it and change that to B4 again. I'm going to do OK, apply, and then do OK again. All right, so that's the current date. So let's do the current selection. So let's do conditional formatting, new rule, and again I'm going to use a formula. I'm going to do equals if B4 equals the selected date on the date checker support sheet. So that date there, and again it's going to have the dollar signs on the column and the row to make it absolute, and that's what we want. So if that's true, we're going to do some formatting, and if it's false, we're going to do nothing. Close that bracket. The format, if you remember, is going to be, the fill is going to be the blue, this darker blue here. The border, and with this line, we're going to use the dark blue and do the outline. The font will be bold, and it will be white, like so. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK again. And again, at the moment, it's not highlighting it. I'm going to do conditional formatting, manage rules. And again, on here, it's done that weird thing there. That's fine now. I'm going to do edit, select it, and do edit rule. And again, I'm just going to highlight that and just make it B4 again. Do OK. Do apply, and then click OK. And again, if I go up now, it's now highlighted it. Let's do the final conditional formatting for the adjustment date. So I'm going to do conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, and this time it's going to be equals if, open bracket, B4 equals the adjustment date on the date checker support sheet. So this cell here. Again, it's absolute. We want that to be absolute, so it doesn't move. I'm going to do comma. So if it's true, we're going to do some formatting, otherwise false, and do nothing. For the formatting on the adjustment date, I'm going to do format. So we are going to make the text bold on the font, and we'll make it black. Border will be dark blue again. Just dark blue, and do the outline, and then the fill will be the lighter blue this time. I'm going to do OK. I'm going to do OK again. And again, I'm just going to do conditional formatting, manage rules, and where we've got this oddity that happens, I'm going to select it, do edit rule, and I'm just going to change that to back to B4 like so. I'm going to do OK, apply, and then OK again. So we've now done the conditional formatting for the top row. We now need to do the activities. So again, I'm going to highlight the activity portions, those rows here, holding down that control key. And I need to repeat what I've just done for the header for the row. But this time, again, the cell that I'm going to point to is going to be the cell above, because that's what we're checking against, yeah? So I'm going to do conditional formatting. So that's, for this cell is going to be B4, and then relatively it will be C4 and so on. So conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula. So again, I'm going to use the if it's equal to today's date. So if B4 equals today, then true, false. Let's do the formatting. So again, that's going to be, the fill's going to be the green, the border is going to be yellow with that line there, do the outline, and then the font is going to, I'm not going to make it bold, but I am going to make it white, like so, and click OK, then click OK again, and again I'm going to do conditional formatting, manage rules, and let's just fix this here. So I'm going to select it, do edit rule, and again just highlight it. And if you have a problem highlighting, because sometimes it can be a bit finicky, just press the F2 key, and that will then allow you to move the cursor with the arrow keys to the left to delete it and then change it to B4, just as a tip there. I'm going to click OK, apply, and then click OK again. Now let's do the selected date. So conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, and this time let's do equals if B4 equals the selected date. So on the date checker support, selected date, then it's true, comma, false. Format. So I don't want to make it bold, but I am going to make it white font. The border is going to be a dark blue. Do the outline, and the fill is going to be this blue here. I'm going to click OK, and OK again. And again, I'm going to go conditional formatting, manage rules. There where we've got this oddity happening again, I'm going to select it, do edit rule, and again I'm just going to change that to B4, do OK, apply, and do OK. And if I go to the top there, and now it's working fine. Let's do the final one, which is the adjustment date. So I'm going to do conditional formatting, new rule, use a formula, and again I'm going to do equals if B4 equals the adjustment date on the date checker support sheet, so that cell there, and then do true, comma, false, like so. I'm then going to do format, and this time the fill is going to be the lighter blue, the border is going to be a dark blue again, so select that and outline, and then the font is going to be black. Yeah, and do OK, OK again. And again, I'm going to do conditional formatting, manage rules, and again, let's just correct this oddity here. Do edit rule, and change that to B4, like so, and do OK, apply, and then click OK. So there we go. That is the activity calendar. So now we need to have this for the previous and the next month. So first of all, I'm going to do view and get rid of the grid lines. And then with this selected, I'm going to right click. I'm going to do move or copy. And then with the date checker selected month selected, I'm going to do create a copy. because I've selected that, it should create it just before it. I'm going to do OK, and there you go. And I'm going to rename it to be the previous month, like so. And let's just get rid of that at the end as well. Hit return. So what we need to do now is we need to change this to point to the C portion of the dates checker support. So all I've got to do is I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to highlight this here as well because I want to change that, and I'm going to do Control F to find. And what I'm going to find is I want to find the $B, and I want to replace it with the $C, like so. If I do replace all, boom. And if I just close that for a second, and on here I'm just going to get rid of the selected month because I don't need it anymore. Just get rid of that. Hit return. I'm just going to change this font. So on the home ribbon, I'm going to change that to a lighter green, like so. Now, we need to change this as well to recognize the July. That's on July. So I'm just going to highlight these two cells here. So A4 and B4. I'm going to do Control F to find. And again, I'm just doing a find and replace. It's the same. So I'm going to do replace all. And there you go. Two replacements, and close that. So we've now got July, and there you can see it's picked up today's date because it's the 29th of July for me. So what I'm going to do now is on this one, I'm going to right click on it, do move and copy, and I am going to create a copy. So let's just put it there, well, move it to the end. Create a copy and do OK. So we've got proof month, selected month. This is going to be, rename it as the next month. Next month, let's get rid of that at the end as well, and then hit return. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this, select it. So I want to replace C with D now. So I'm going to do Control, find. So I'm going to replace $C with $D and do replace all. Boom. And again, I'm just going to do the same for this one here as well. So highlighting A4 and B4 and do replace all. Do OK. I'm going to close that, and let's just change the font for this to be a darker green. Boom. And there you've got September stuff in there and all the activities. So we've now created the previous month, which is picking everything up. We've got the selected month, the selected date and the activities. And we've now got the following month, the next month. So that's where I'm going to end this video. In the next video, which will be the final video, we're going to bring it all together. So when we select a month here and we go, so let's do view calendars, is that we'll then have the ability to view the calendars, and I can then, we'll be able to see how many activities are in each month here, and we'll be able to click it and bring up that view that we've just been created. So I hope you found that helpful and informative. If so, please remember to click that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And as always, I wish you an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change, Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.